Welcome to the Trueface podcast, where we have conversations about what we can learn from what's going on in our lives. My name is Robbie Engel, and I'll be your guide as we learn how to increase trust and experience grace. Most of us get stuck in our relationships with God and others, and we end up wondering, is this really all there is to it? Trueface equips you to experience deeper relationships with God and others, equipping a growing group of men and women with a toolbox of teaching and experiences to help you experience the peace and the freedom of the original good news. So some of you know our new podcast is coming out weekly, and this is one of those shorter podcasts where I get the honor of sharing with you some things that I've been thinking about. In this season of transition out of a decade into a new decade, I've been processing a lot of these things, and you can capture those. You can find those on the podcast, on YouTube, or on our blog. But we have been doing a weekly email, super short, as a blessing that captures some of these things we're going to be talking about. And the best way to get on that is go to trueface.org, scroll to the bottom, sign up for our once a week short emails. And we hope they're a blessing to you. Let us know what you want us to talk about, what you want to hear. And as your group is also re-engaging in the new year, your small group, we've got a really cool 4-minute free assessment that will help you identify areas of your small group or of your leadership of your small group, of opportunities to take your small group to the next level. So go to thecureforgroups.com or trueface.org. Do that quick 4-minute assessment and let us know if that's helpful for your group, identifying opportunities for improvement as we want to help you connect relationally and grow spiritually. And a lot of you are doing that in small group, cell group, life group, whatever you call it. But today I've been thinking about wisdom, and I want to share some of those thoughts about wisdom. And it really starts with a question that we assume is true, but a lot of us might question with people in our lives. And it's the question of, do you want to be wise? We know that the Sunday school answer, we know the wise answer is to say, of course. But I want to unpack what that looks like in something that I've really appreciated and learned over the past decade of what helps me on my quest for wisdom. Because the answer for me on this question of, do I want to be wise, has always been a resounding yes. As I look at the men and women who I hope to grow up to be like, the ones who are finishing well, who have stayed the course, I notice that each of them has followed the really narrow road of wisdom and pursuing wisdom and applying wisdom throughout their life. This doesn't mean they haven't wandered away at times or taken shortcuts that ended up being dead ends, but in general, they've followed the road of applying truth in their lives by trusting truth. In other words, they've followed the road of wisdom. And as I look back on the last decade of life and look ahead to the next one, I want to continue to grow, to mature in wisdom. I see this in Scripture. Proverbs 1:7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction." James 1:5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." And Proverbs 8:11 says, "For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her." We want wisdom. But again, as we look around and as I look in my own life, have there been seasons where I'm not really pursuing wisdom, that I'm not leaning into wisdom? And as I reflect on seasons where I've done well and not well at this, one of the biggest learnings has been that finding a cheat, what differentiates whether or not I am engaging in a life of pursuing wisdom. And it's this: the single greatest cheat code for wisdom has been, and I hope will continue to be, asking those that are ahead of me on the journey for wisdom and direction. Pretty simple, but as we look around and we reflect on our own lives, are we actually doing that intentionally and consistently? Are we asking those ahead of us on the journey for wisdom and direction? No matter how unique your circumstances, there are people who have walked ahead of you. They have learned lessons that we can benefit from. And so finding men and women ahead of you in wisdom and experience in various areas of life, we get the opportunity to pursue wisdom by asking them questions. And then we trust their counsel by acting on it. It's not going to always be the right direction or advice if we trusted the wisdom of those ahead of us in everything we did, but batting 900 is still going to be pretty good and way better than the alternative, at least I found in my life, of learning through our own limited intuition and trying and failing. This has been the number one, the best cheat code for me over the past 10 years. Decisions on my personal faith journey or marriage or parenting or business or investments or ministry were exponentially more successful because of the guidance and wisdom of people ahead of me. They had so much to offer that they wished they would have known at my age. So how can I not take advantage of that, right? How do we not take advantage of that more and seek that counsel and apply it in our own lives to get ahead? When I wasn't sure what certain spiritual gifts could look like in my faith journey, I sought counsel from Bill and Larry and John. When I wasn't clear about the wisdom of a real estate decision, I reached out to Scott and Greg and Rob. When I wasn't sure what to do organizationally, I called Benj and Chris. When I have theological questions, I call Bruce and Bill. When it comes to prayer, I call Scott and Lindy. When I've got big family parenting questions, I call David or Elizabeth. When I was at a major career transition and felt in over my head, actually in coming to Trueface, I called up and asked Dennis, and Reggie to come over for dinner and help me prayerfully discern whether or not I should make this major life change of coming to Trueface. At one point, I was deciding about a significant personal family decision, and my wife, Emily, just said, well, what did Dennis and Reggie say? She doesn't even ask anymore on those big ones what I think. She just says, well, what did they say? She had seen how the input of these men had blessed our lives and knew their wisdom was worth trusting and acting on. This is the number one way I've found to cheat in life and find the narrow path of wisdom. And part of that wisdom and counsel is that this is wisdom and application of wisdom and cheating at any stage of life. 10s, in your 60s. In humility, it's to seek counsel from those that are ahead of you on your journey. Not necessarily age-wise, but experience-wise, knowledge-wise, wisdom-wise. To seek this counsel with consistency and intentionality. And after seeking the counsel and receiving it, trusting that counsel by actually acting on it, even if we disagree. Then we just rinse and repeat and keep doing that. So it's wise for all of us to seek wisdom, and this is the best I've found and been told. And I want to continue to do this. And so here's some questions to process this truth as you're listening to this in your car, driving, wherever you are. First is, who do you trust enough to seek counsel from? Who is it? Who in your life do you trust enough to seek counsel from and then trust and apply that truth that you receive from them? And this could be different people in different areas of your life, like I talked about earlier. The second thing to process is, what happened the last time you sought counsel from somebody ahead of you on the journey? Did you apply it? Did you just factor it into your own grid and then move forward? Or did you trust that truth? And third, start thinking about, what are the gaps in your life where you don't have go-to people to reach out to, from parenting to finances to investment to big decisions to career to your ministry to your faith journey? And how can you start filling those gaps? How can you begin reaching out to meet people that you look up to and trust, or to be intentional and consistent with people in those gaps, in those areas, in order to have them to call to pursue wisdom in those areas before you need to make those decisions or take a stab and learn it on your own. I could not be more blessed for having those men and women in my life to seek counsel from and to trust the wisdom that comes with hindsight in their own life. And I'm going to keep doing it this year. It is proven really effective, where I don't need to come up with new ideas, find wisdom, find discernment. I just need to trust those that God has given that to ahead of me in different areas of my life. And what if we all did that? What if we trusted enough to seek counsel with intentionality and consistency from people ahead of us? And if we don't have those people, we find those people and we prioritize it, because it is one of the keys to pursuing wisdom. God, help us do that. Help us find those people and help us live with greater intentionality in pursuing wisdom, which looks like humility, and give us those people in our lives. We trust you. We love you. I pray that this will be so in all of our lives who are listening to this. And we hope this was a blessing and a quick encouragement to you. Thanks, y'all.